Hey, it's Mack with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and it is Monday. It's October 17th. This will be our chart lesson for the day, and um, it's really a range day today. Prices did break outside the overnight highs here, just not by much, just enough to give you a failed break higher, and then a little reversal here that was pretty good short in my opinion. But there wasn't a whole lot going on. You got to be real careful when you get in here. Um, This looks like a midline in between a high and a low. Really looked like this was the range at first, and in the end, it looks like this was just a bigger range. This was a midline, so you had to be real careful trading this stuff here. I'll explain the ones that I like as we go here, but yeah, you had to be pretty careful with those. So there's not a lot of trades today. It won't take long to do this chart lesson, and then we'll go from there. So let me back out a little more to make it a little easier to see. All right, early on, when I came in, we were actually working up this trend. You finally get a break outside, and you get this bar that bounces here. This is a failed second entry short, so this is a reversal pattern. You really didn't have to worry about your signal bar here since it is a reversal pattern and a failed second entry short. So when it went lower here and turned and went up out the other side, just go long right there. That was a great place to go long. And then it pulls back and gives you a little breakout pullback with another opportunity. It's not a great, you've already got your high in place, and this is not a great signal bar, but if you let it break higher and maybe risk a limit order in there, maybe I'm okay with it. This one's real close to just skipping it. This was your better entry, but I still like this one because if you saw the channel, which you should have got it off those first two swings right there, if you saw that channel, then you should have been looking for a measured move up here. And you also could have drawn this one and been looking for that, which that gets you really close. Of course, we didn't get there because the higher, the measured move off the channel itself is across these highs here. So, but that would have given you some incentive to want to stay with this one or to maybe jump in here. Again, it's not a great setup, but there's reasons to want to take it. So they're probably a little more advanced. So if you didn't like these two trades, you didn't miss much. This one is a second entry long, and it is a failed second entry short. Notice the new low, and you get a first entry and then a second entry, and you can't go short there, even though it would have worked. You can't go short there because you got a trend line working out. Um, you might have looked at that like a failed break higher, but we already had gone higher here, and so you're kind of making higher highs and higher lows. And that's a pretty strong move up, so I'm not going short right there. And that's really too early anyway. Let's see what time that was. That was around, well, that was right around 7:11. So yeah, it wasn't necessarily too early, but I don't like the setup. So, but anyway, when you push on up and you finally reach the other side on a perfect measured move and you get this big bearish bar that way far away from the EMA, plus it's a failed break. You would have noticed that right there. It's a failed break higher. Um, and in the end, that's really where you got your turn down here as well. So um, once we had the closes up here, I moved it up. But so that's a failed break higher. I like that one. You don't know that it's going to take off like this, but that's the great thing about catching these lows or the highs like that. That's the high of the day. And it's amazing how many times if you catch the low or high of the day on a failed break, it turns out to be a great trade. And this is one of them. If you caught this one trade and caught a runner, you did pretty well just on that one trade. And of course, now you got a channel working down, and you're still within a possible larger channel, but it's still looking more like a range day. And notice how this thing shoots right through. And we finally get a close outside. We move to a new low. Then we try to go lower again, and it fails. I looked at this one. You could have considered going long there, but if this is a range day, we're not back down to the lows. And if this channel is correct going up, we're not back down to the channel line. So I don't think you want to go long there, even though it would have worked. I don't think you want to go long there. It's a lot of congestion right across there as well. Um, and that's people will ask me stuff like that, and they'll this, after the fact, that looks like a great trade going up there and coming back down. But look at it right there. Look, that's how it's going to look on a live chart. And look how we're just going sideways. And it looks like we should be heading to here. So we end up heading there, but it bounces first. And you don't know that. What if you tried that right here or somewhere else, and you get burned? And so you got to play. The odds are prices are headed to here, so you don't want to be going long in there. And yep, that's exactly where prices are ended up heading, down to here. They pushed through. This was pretty bearish right here. It pushes through, and notice what happens. You pull back, you get a first entry. Pull back, you get a second entry. So you get a second entry short right off the EMA, but it's also right off what was previous supports now acting as resistance. So I liked going short right there. That was a fairly nice trade, and of course it makes a double bottom and bounces. And this is the first break of this trend line working right up through here, so now you're thinking, hey, we're probably going to go long. But look at that little two-tick bar that broke lower and turned and went right out the upper side. Just go long right there. You're probably at least coming back to the EMA or here, but you might catch a low of the day. And look what ends up happening. It ends up going all the way back towards the top, and any runners would have been safe again. It also has a failed second entry short here, back inside not only this support resistance, but back inside this trend line right here. And look what happens. You push right through the EMA, no resistance. It pulls back, tests it once. First entry short, pulls back, tests it again. Second entry short, it fails. So we don't care what that signal bar looks like. You probably got trap traders go long, and look at it rocketed up. And look at it gapped over. There's one of those gaps over the support and resistance areas that tells you you're in the right place. Okay, I had an interruption there, and I've been away a few minutes, and I think we were talking about this trade. But yeah, there's a failed second entry short there. It also bounces off this support resistance line. It's second entry long. This high is actually higher than this one. That's still a two-legged pullback to the EMA reversal pattern. So you want to take that one. Your hope is it goes all the way to the high. It doesn't quite get there, but this is still a great move. And that's the only opportunity to get in. It's right there, because otherwise there's a shorter term trend line here with a break and a new high. But I think this is really your channel right here. I drew this off the highs. I drew it off these highs and drug it down, and it fit there. And then lo and behold, that's exactly where it turned. So there's a bigger channel there. But we get a little overshoot there, and then we start working down. But it's also a failed break out of this trading range here. It's real tempting. You want to try to get a short set up here, but you just never get one. That bar's more bullish. This bar's really more bullish, closer to a doji. And then you pull back right here, and then you're right into the EMA. That's a real bullish bar. So there's just really not a good opportunity to enter that one. You might could argue to enter here, but your stop still has to go here. And with the fact that this is a break above all these resistance points. But there's also the fear, if you measure this first move here, or this high or low, there's always the fear that we're going to get a measured leg up, and that might mean another new high. So that's another reason I'm a little leery about getting short there without a really good setup. So, and again, if you put this on the far right hand side, you can see that's looking really bullish, and then all of a sudden you get kind of a neutral bar almost, and then you get another neutral bar, makes a lower high, and it's closing inside that trend line. There's a chance you push on up there, so you just can't go short there. And you do get a failed second entry long here, and it's the first break of that trend line. But again, the bar's so big it's within the whole range, so you don't get another chance to get in. And then you get a double test here, but again, look at it, you're just going sideways, and the support's holding and the resistance holding, so there's no way to get in there until finally you get a failed break lower. And notice there's a break of this trend line and uh, a new low, plus there's a failed break lower. So that's where you want to go long, and that turns out to be a good trade. And you actually get a failed break higher here, but that bar's too big. You're right back into the support again, and then all of a sudden you get a second entry short right here with a big bearish bar, and you got plenty of room to get out now before you get back to here. Uh, and look what happens. You got a new high. You pull back, you get a first entry long. You pull back, you get a second entry long. Um, it's tempting to go long right here, but you've already had a break lower here, and this just pushes right through. You don't find any support there at all. So that that leads you to be thinking everything's going short down instead of long. And so I like taking the failed second entry long and not going long right there. Even though a long would have worked, I don't think you want to take that one. And of course here, you're right back into these lows by the time you get that bar. Um, and then you actually keep trying to go. And then finally you get a breakout pullback short right here with a big bearish bar right off that trend line, right off the midline of the bigger pattern. You're not down here to the lows yet on this one or this one. So I like going short right there finally, hoping that maybe you're going to go test the low of the day, and notice it misses it by a tick there. There's a second entry short here as well, but you don't have a very good signal bar. You might have let it break lower than this one. That's your first break of that trend line, so you're probably going to try to retest that low. And also you should have measured this leg here from here. So once we go lower, you're looking for a measured move, and that you've already got it to the tick right there. So that makes this a little bit more risky because there's a chance it just goes a tick or two and reverses it, and that's really what happens. It tries to test this low, but you've already got a measured move, and so it starts reversing. So now you got a break here and a new low, and you're just maybe a tick off the low. You're a good bit away from the MA. So, and look how bullish that is. So you might consider going long right there. It's a little risky. It may be worth risking, but notice how it pushes right through the EMA, pulls back first entry long, pulls back second entry long, but that's also a failed second entry short again. That's your reversal pattern. You had the overshoot down here, so I like that one. At least come back to here, make sure you got enough room, but it pushes on through pretty quickly. And this may be just a little bit higher. You see that gap right there. Generally, those are going to come about where your trend line is. I think I tightened it up to here because when it turned down right there, and it really fits either way, so doesn't matter. It's close enough. But that's in the 3 o'clock hour anyway. So, but I liked going long right there. And that pretty much got you into the 2 o'clock hour. So that was it for the day. Not a lot of trades today. This is probably, you got to be really careful in here and make sure you're reading it right. And again, you really want to stick to the lows and the highs, the failed breaks and things like that. And so there were some really good trades today, but there weren't a whole lot of them. So you had to be careful. You had to be really careful. So, but anyway, that's going to do it for today. I'm not going to beat around the bush. Not much else to talk about here. So I'm going to wrap it up. We'll be back again to do it tomorrow. This is Mack with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see you next time.